Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have some pretty sad news to go and cover in regards to Sony and also on PlayStation. Now, it's going to be in regards now to the future of the PlayStation 5 disc, how most likely future consoles are going to be very more so skewed against actually having disc drives themselves, like physical media, and as well as kind of the sad news that we're now seeing a lot of layoffs that are ongoing as of right this second. So, I'm going to go sit here and talk about this a little bit back in the gaming news. We have a bit of like a outside social media stint on the channel. If you guys ever do like those types of videos, at least for a mix-up, let me know, because I sometimes don't mind being a little bit of a gossipy little BIT. So if you guys don't mind that, but let's go dive into this news because it's kind of sad to go and cover either way. So make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. You know, the Twitter and Twitch room down below, and let's go and dive on into it. So right now, we're actually now seeing a pretty big news over here when it comes to Sony. Now, Sony, as I'm sure you guys know, is the parent company of PlayStation, and Sony also has had their hands into many other various forms of media. So think things like PlayStation, which is pretty much their biggest profitable division, and one of the bigger ones out there. They have Sony Movies, Sony Pictures, and of course, they have a lot of other various things too, such as like making cameras, TVs, or even things like, like Blu-rays, etc. So they can kind of have a little bit of bit and piece of everything, but most of the stuff is all interconnected. You can go and have Crunchyroll and Funimation, you put the app on PlayStation. You go and you make a Spider-Man movie, you make a Spider-Man game. You go put music and you go and sell those same music licensing rights to PlayStation Studios. It's a very, very interconnected company. But when it comes to Sony right now, we're seeing some pretty rough news that Sony is reportedly cutting around 250 jobs. Now, you guys might be curious, what does this mean? How does it impact PlayStation? What's going on? Oh, do we care about the firewall and network protectors? Basically saying that Sony is reportedly planning to cut 250 staff from recordable media businesses, possibly impacting now PlayStation. Physical media business is declining in popularity due to streaming services, leading to job cuts across the gaming industry. Physical game sales are decreasing as well, raising questions about the future of physical PS5 or PS6, Xbox One, whatever you guys want to go call it, titles as well. So to kind of report like the big highlights over here. Sony basically is cutting off staff right now that most likely will be working with a PlayStation 5 physical media. Now, it may not be one-to-one, because we have things like Blu-ray players and Blu-ray discs themselves, or even porting Sony movies to, disc as well. But PlayStation has been kind of somewhat leaving towards the physical side. As you guys know, there has been a PS5 Digital, as well as now we have the detachable disc. And of course, we also have Xbox too, which is just a big standard of gaming as a whole, where Xbox has Game Pass, Xbox has streaming. Same with PlayStation Plus and most of their things. They actually do also have streaming, data centers, and all that stuff too as well, built into their consoles. Like we basically are seeing a very long-term shift towards pure digital, whether it's for streaming through Game Pass, digital downloads, or basically just having console hardware, not having those physical editions anymore, which is kind of a sad thing to go think about. I enjoy having the physical editions. I like the collector's edition. I like having a physical thing to go back to, think old school GameCube games or old school N64 games. I love that stuff. And it's sad to go and see because a lot of this media has been dying out. We also cover this up on other various platforms where like Target, Best Buy, all of those places are also getting rid of their physical copies, which sucks. So anyway, a new report claims that Sony is gearing up to cut around 250 staff members from the tech conglomerate's recordable media business division. While these alleged layoffs aren't necessarily related to PlayStation, they could indirectly impact the trajectory of Sony's gaming division in the long term, possibly leading to a future that many hardcore gamers may not like. Myself included, I want to hear your thoughts. The tech landscape has been hit by devastating layoffs over the last few years, especially when it comes to the gaming industry. Back in 2023, Microsoft eliminated an eye-watering 10,000 jobs across several of its subsidiaries. I want to follow up with that by cutting an additional 2,000 positions from the company's Xbox branch in early 2024. As I mentioned, we've also been seeing Walmart directly contacted from Microsoft themselves to stop selling physical discs, to basically kind of zoning that out as being phased out over time. And PlayStation is still somewhat relevant in those regards. It does also seem like most games being bought are moving towards the digital side. Meanwhile, fellow console manufacturer Sony announced a few months ago that it too would lay off around 900 employees across its PlayStation division. These two corporations are far from the only companies to exercise brutal layoff practices, though, as nearly every other major video game publisher has recently announced sweeping job cuts of some sort, from EA, Take-Two, Ubisoft, Sega, Square Enix, and also Embracer Group. As well as a pretty popular news we also covered too as well a few months ago, that Sony's PlayStation London studio was shut down due to layoffs, and basically a lot of employees as well been taken on down, around 8% of all the employees as a whole. So Insomniac Games, Naughty Dog, Guerrilla Games, etc. have all been laid off purely on the PlayStation side. And it's crazy because they do have statements like this. They want to grow on PC, which as of right now, PC is probably mostly just pure digital downloads. Same thing too as well with streaming. Things like, like say the Steam Deck, think Xbox Game Pass. So it makes a lot of sense of why they'd want to keep on pushing towards this shift, which number one is still really sucky news for anyone who has a job. And also anyone who has that, so maybe it's slowly becoming more niche due to numbers, but anyone who appreciates having that physical media is also a big deal. In that kind of mindset, I like physical media. I'm not like the biggest, I will still buy a game digitally, download a game digitally, stream a game if I have to, but if I could pick and choose, I'd rather have a physical copy. That's just how I am. But it's crazy because a lot of these big layoffs are happening everywhere, and it kind of just sucks because some studios are just getting shut down, certain games are getting shut down because they don't want to really justify the price cuts for it or whatever it might go and be. But anyway, they're saying these layoffs are ending anytime soon, as a report from the Mainichi, a major Japanese newspaper, alleges that Sony Group Corp is gearing up to eliminate around 250 positions, or 37% of the 670 staff members, from its recordable media business, key manufacturing hub in northeastern Japan. Essentially, this suggests that Sony is cutting down on in-house production of physical media, likely in regard to movies and TV shows, and most likely also video games too as well. The main chief purports these planned job cuts come amid a decline in demand for traditional storage formats, such as Blu-ray disc, with streaming services now the norm. So once again, kind of a smart play when it comes to Xbox Game Pass. Xbox Game Pass has the idea that most people are moving towards purely digital. Not everyone wants to hold on to a game. Let's go get an Xbox copy either way. So considering that rumors have recently swirled around major retailers like Target abandoning the distribution of physical media, which we've covered before, a lot of this doesn't seem like a surprise. Where it seems like right now PlayStation just doesn't want to go and invest the money into physical discs, which makes sense. Although it's a cost-cutting measure, sometimes these cost-cutting measures can make issues in the future. Let's go and say a company goes and invests $1 billion. Look at PlayStation VR. And if they do, then maybe it fosters and make great games, and people are finally swayed to get a PlayStation VR. And then sometimes people just drop it and don't care, and it phases out. Once again, think PlayStation VR 2, or even just physical copies for games. If no one's buying them and you kind of gradually phase them out and you slowly get less and less and move on or go to purely digital, as long as you have an option to buy the game digitally, I don't think that many people care. I still like the actual act of physically owning a game, having it, it's a good feeling, but at the same time, it's just rough. So the Minchi reports also claim that Sony will gradually cease production of optical disc storage media products, including Blu-ray discs, according to its sources. Although the tech giant's gaming division isn't outright mentioned here, one has to wonder if these alleged plans will also impact the distribution of physical PS5 titles. I think they would. I think that'll tone down over time, and maybe by the time the PS6, it might almost be barely any physical copies. After all, every physical PlayStation game is printed on a Blu-ray disc, so if Sony is indeed looking to abandon internal production efforts for the media format altogether, then that could suggest that physical discs may have to face the Reaper in the future. Now, I can 100% see this. We've kind of known this is coming soon. Look at Xbox. That's the number one bigger competitor for PlayStation. They're basically getting rid of it already in physical stores, switching to Game Pass, Windows Store for digital downloads. And once again, most of the game buying is digitally. That's just end all be all. Use anyone else for an example. I like physical. I would still buy physical, but once again, a lot of games even I buy are purely digital. So this is kind of crazy that Sony themselves are laying out the division that would make it possible for more PlayStation 5 game discs to go and happen. Now, once again, this is a slow phase out. It's not going away tomorrow. It's not going away next month. But at the end of the day, over time, we will be seeing less and less and less, which is kind of sad. Some people like having physical. I like it, as I mentioned throughout this video. So I want to hear your thoughts on all this down below. Saying recent reports from analysts have suggested that physical game sales have been declining year over year. So Sony's potential decision to sunset its Blu-ray and manufacturing division, including the in-house production of PS5 discs, would make more sense in this context. Regardless of whether this ends up happening or not, These job cuts at Sony, combined with the recent Xbox layoffs, seem to point towards an all-digital future, inching closer and closer to becoming a reality. Give me your thoughts and comments down below. Subscribe if you guys are new. We have the Twitter, Twitch room as well. I appreciate y'all for watching.